friends! Welcome back to Belle's Library. I'm Heather, and today I'm going to be doing a review for Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. This one's coming out on the day that you're seeing it, most likely. So January 11th, 2021. The only thing that would maybe delay this a little bit is I'm still waiting on a desk in order to put my computer set up to be able to edit videos. Things got delayed because we had a bunch of snow, and I just moved from California to Tennessee. So I'm hoping it will be coming out on release day, January 11th. If not, then shortly after. But this is a review to kind of tell you about the book, what I thought of it. And I did get this ARC from NetGalley, just so you guys know, but I am going to be honest in all of my reviews and opinions, and I just wanted to share with you what I thought of this book. Now, I will put the cover up here because it is gorgeous. I've actually seen a couple of different renditions of this cover, and it is just so beautiful. I mean, it instantly pulls you in. And then this is also an Asian-inspired fantasy about Chang-e, the moon goddess. Actually, it's more about her daughter, but she kind of is involved a little bit in it. And oh my goodness, it just such a beautiful cover. The idea behind it I thought was wonderful. So for the review, we'll go ahead and run through the synopsis, and then I'll kind of tell you my thoughts and maybe talk a little bit about who I think this book might be for. So as I said, the book is inspired by the Chinese moon goddess Chang-e, and we're following her daughter Jingyin. So the moon goddess was actually exiled to the moon when she drank this elixir of immortality that belonged to the celestial emperor. And nobody knew about Jingyin, her daughter, and she's kind of kept that secret. But then one day, some of her magic accidentally flares, and so the celestial empress shows up, and she's like, is there somebody else here? What's going on? And so Jingyin is forced to kind of flee for a little while because they don't want to find out about her and be in trouble. There's the emperor and empress don't particularly like the moon goddess. So Jingyin ends up in the celestial kingdom, and she happens to befriend the prince and become his like scholarly buddy, and basically like goes along with him to all of his lessons, and whether it's about like scholarly stuff like wars and garden herbs and stuff like that, or more like sword fighting and archery and stuff like that. And so she kind of was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to try and learn and hone some of these skills to hopefully be able to help my mom and break this curse upon her that she has to stay on the moon. She's not allowed to go anywhere, and so she's trying to help her mom, and so we're following her journey while she does that. Now, this is a YA fantasy, and I feel like it follows a lot of similar fantasy tropes. We do have different missions and different kind of obstacles along the way, different monsters we're going after. There is some really fun like mythology tales kind of weaved in here. So they'll tell a story about like the 4 dragons of the realm, or, you know, the mermaids or something like that. And then somehow it kind of connects into what Jingyin is kind of doing. So I tend to really enjoy that kind of stuff. So that was kind of a fun element. We also have a little bit of a love triangle between Jingyin and the prince and another character. So we do have that kind of element. So there are some tropes that are definitely very YA fantasy type. And the twist towards the end I've seen before as well. So let's this is leading into a little bit more of, I guess, my thoughts on the story. So I felt like the story had a good premise. I don't know that it was fully executed as well as I would have liked it to be. I definitely felt like the writing, you could tell that this was a debut novel a little bit more, because it felt like I was reading. Instead of feeling really immersed in the story and just kind of being able to imagine things and feeling like I was there, I felt at times like I was actually reading, and like it just was pulling me out of the story a little bit. I do feel like it kind of had that cookie cutter, like, we're going on this mission, now this is happening, now this is happening. a little bit. And that twist towards the end, I have seen it before, and unfortunately, like, I just didn't feel like it hit and had as much of an impact and as much depth as it could have, because it just didn't feel connected to the story and the characters as much as I would have liked to. Jing Yan, she's a very interesting character. She does go through some growth, but I don't feel like I ever really got to know a ton and like really like got fully into her mind a little bit, but just like, I don't know, there's just wasn't a connection there. And then our love triangle, like I kind of could feel it a little bit with one side of it, but the other side I felt like just came out of nowhere, and that just didn't, like, there was no build up to it, and I didn't believe in it, and I was just like, I don't know that this is really working for me. So it was just kind of, it was a little rough in some of those ways. Some of it just felt a little like there was just maybe too much in the story, and it didn't give me time to really fall in love with it. And then just not being able to really like immerse myself into the writing style, I just felt like it dragged a little bit long. I was really kind of struggling to finish this book. It took me quite a while to get through this book. I would just pick it up for like a couple chapters, and then I was kind of like, okay, I'll pick this up again tomorrow. I would say the last quarter, I definitely felt a little bit more immersed in the story, and I did feel like we were getting somewhere, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of, a little more into this. So I do definitely want to continue into the second book in this duology, and I want to see what this author comes out with more, because I am very intrigued and interested in Asian fantasies a little bit more, and just the whole idea behind the story does entertain me, so I'm curious to see what else she's going to do. And obviously this is a debut novel, so she hopefully will grow from here, and so I definitely see the potential there, and I do want to continue in the series and see how it kind of rounds out. I do actually also feel like, though, this book could really stand on its own. I don't feel like it left in a spot where I'm like, I know what we're even going to be talking about in the next story, or where's this kind of going. Like, I can see some stuff, but I feel like it wrapped up well enough to where, like, you could just read this as this one book and feel satisfied and okay with that. So my last little bit we'll talk about here is just who do I think that this book could work for. And for me, I really think that this book could work for someone who's maybe getting into fantasy or hasn't read a ton of fantasy and has seen all of these tropes over and over again. Not that I've read a ton, but I have read a good chunk of YA fantasy, and I do feel like this kind of follows a similar formula to a lot of fantasy. And so I think that somebody getting into it, it's not writing that's super convoluted or confusing, so you can really get into it and understand kind of the world and what's going on, and be able to get into the story a little bit more. And maybe that twist at the end would be a little bit more shocking if you haven't seen that trope before. Also, just people who are interested in Chang-e and the kind of lore around Chinese folklore and mythology and stuff. Maybe this is something that just like intrigues you. I definitely think that there was some really fun elements woven into the story with that. So I think that could definitely be really interesting. And, if you're into fantasy with a little bit of some kind of Asian or Chinese mythology or background, this could definitely be a book that would work for you. So that is kind of where we're going to wrap things up. I hope that you enjoyed this review. I definitely think this book is worth checking out if you are interested in it. So definitely take a look and see if you want to grab this. Let me know down below if you've read this, if you want to read this. What are your guys' thoughts? I'd love to chat about this book a little bit more. And I don't know if I said this, but my overall rating was a 3-star for the book. So if you have made it this far and you feel up to leaving me a little moon down below, then go ahead and do that if you don't feel like chatting about too much more. But I will talk to you guys in another video very soon. And you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, guys.